Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And I've been playing a lot of Minecraft Dungeons through Xbox Game Pass with the family today, and honestly, I've been having a blast with that game. I'm not even a Minecraft fan, and I think it's a really fun game, but here's the thing. Even though Minecraft Dungeons just launched into Xbox Game Pass today, that did not stop Xbox from announcing another big game heading over to Xbox Game Pass in June. Yeah, that's right, they have already started to make some June Game Pass announcements, so stay tuned for that. And we also have the Xbox Games with Gold lineup for June as well. And anytime there's free games, that's always good news, right? But as always, we do have plenty of other news to talk about as well. And to start off this episode, let's talk about some PC gaming, because 3 exciting games are heading over to the Steam platform on June 18th. Those 3 games will be Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit Become Human. Of course, Sony and Quantum Dreams did release these games on the Epic Game Store last year, but not everybody is all that fond of the Epic Game Store. And really, Steam is just a lot more popular. It's been around longer, and the store is handled very well and can give a lot of exposure to new games like this. And Heavy Rain as well as Detroit Become Human are actually really good games, and I do think that they fit well on the PC platform. So I do think that they could end up being a big hit on Steam once they release on June 18th. If anything, it's just really cool to see Sony support the PC platform like this, because they do own both Detroit Become Human as well as Beyond Two Souls. And if you have never played any of these games and you're not sure if you'll like them or not, well, you can actually go download the demo for all 3 right now on Steam. So yeah, go check that out. Also, 2K Games talked a little bit about the Nintendo Switch and some of their upcoming games. I know for a lot of people, it seemed a little odd that 2K Games decided to release the BioShock Collection, Borderlands Collection, and XCOM 2 all on the same day on May 29th. I mean, if you really look at it, Nintendo has all of those games and Xenoblade releasing on the same day. It might be just a little bit too much for Switch owners, so yeah, this strategy by 2K Games seems a little odd. Nonetheless, when asked about it, 2K Chief Creative Sammy Tessman said that they knew that there was a huge demand for these games, so they didn't want Switch fans to have to wait any longer. It wasn't necessarily planned as a strategic move or anything like that, but rather it sounded as if it just kind of fell in place, and he even calls it a happy coincidence. Why am I telling you this though? Well, here is the exciting part. Sammy does continue further and says very directly that 2K Games wants to keep releasing games for the Nintendo Switch. So really, these upcoming games are just the beginning of more games to come by 2K Games for the Switch. Now the main question will be, what games could they release on the Switch? They are doing the Mafia trilogy right now. Could they possibly do something like that for the Switch? I mean, maybe, I don't know, but I will ask you, what 2K games would you like to see come over to the Switch in the future? Let me know in the comments below. Moving on though, EA and the NFL has once again signed an extension to keep the NFL license or simulation football exclusively for the Madden franchise. This deal will run through 2025, and I do think that this was rather expected. I know a lot of people will criticize both EA and the NFL when it comes to these type of deals, but it's obviously been very profitable for both of them, and that's the most important thing for these companies. I know when it comes to consumers, maybe not so much. This is kind of one of those genres that proves that competition breeds excellence, and if there was a big competitor to Madden, who knows how much better these games could end up being. I don't want to say that they're bad or anything like that though, because, well, I mean, they're not, but, you know, I would like to see some more competition here. I really enjoyed the 2K football games when I was a kid, and I remember the last game I played was when Terrell Owens was on the cover, and that was a great game. Nonetheless though, we should expect simulation football to stay with Madden for the foreseeable future. With that said though, let's start talking about some of the Xbox news, because we do have quite a bit to go over here today, starting off with Xbox Game Pass. As I noted in the intro, I have been playing Minecraft Dungeons today, which is a really fun cooperative game, and I would highly recommend it for any Minecraft fan out there. I'm not even a Minecraft fan, and I'm enjoying it a lot myself. It of course released into Xbox Game Pass day one, but it's also available to purchase on the Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, so go check that game out. But Xbox did already announce one game for Xbox Game Pass coming in June, and it's a good one, No Man's Sky. So yet another really good game coming over to Xbox Game Pass in June. Now, when No Man's Sky was first announced years ago, people were in love with that game and it was highly anticipated, but it unfortunately had a rocky launch. A lot of people felt that Hello Games co-founder Sean Murray flat out lied about No Man's Sky and overpromised a lot of different gameplay features and mechanics. But even though it did have a rocky launch, they did re-release this a few years later in 2018, and it has been drastically improved. In fact, it really reminds me of one of the Xbox titles, Sea of Thieves. That game also struggled with its initial launch. It did have some struggles with content, but later turned out to be a great game, and No Man's Sky really is much the same way. And because Sea of Thieves has had such a huge success with Xbox Game Pass, I imagine No Man's Sky will be another success story here with the 10 million plus subscribers for Xbox Game Pass. And do keep in mind that No Man's Sky will not be the only game for Xbox Game Pass next month. Based off previous months, I'm sure we will have plenty more great games announced here soon, and I do wonder if we get another Xbox Game Studios game to launch into Game Pass in June. They have managed to do that for the last 3 months. Back in March, we got Ori and the Will of the Wisps, April was Gears Tactics, and of course, May was Minecraft Dungeons. Then in July, you have Obsidian's upcoming Grounded, and August has Wastelands 3. So it almost seems like Xbox Game Studios is trying to release a game into Xbox Game Pass on a monthly basis. But June oddly doesn't have an Xbox Game Studios game, or at least yet. I do wonder if Battletoads or Tell Me Why could end up releasing in June. We don't have release dates for either of those games yet, and Tell Me Why was supposed to release during the summer, so that would make sense, and then Battletoads could maybe release in September. I mean, we haven't heard about Battletoads in a long time. That game just kind of vanished. I'm actually really excited about that game. I think it looks really good. I know some people don't like the art style, but personally, I like it. But either way, I'm just speculating, of course, about these release dates, but it certainly does seem like that's what Xbox has been trying to do. That's not all for Xbox though, because the Xbox Games with Gold games were announced for June. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, Coffee Talk, Destroy All Humans, and Sign Mora will all be free for Xbox Live Gold members and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers. Honestly, I don't think this is that bad of a month either. I've seen people complain about it, but Shantae and the Pirate's Curse is a great Metroidvania-style game that I would highly recommend. If you like games like Ori and the Hollow Knight, it might be worth a try for the Pirate's Curse, and also Destroy All Humans is a great original Xbox game. Of course, I think most people are probably going to play the Destroy All Humans remake instead, which releases on July 28th, so probably not the best timing there, but overall, I don't think that this is a bad month or anything like that. Sure, there isn't that big, huge game that everybody gets super excited for, but I really can't remember the last time that's happened for Xbox Games with Gold. On to our next topic though. Head of Xbox Phil Spencer was on the Talking Games with Reggie and Harold podcast. And yes, that is right, we are talking about the former Nintendo's Reggie, so it really is cool to see Phil Spencer and Reggie Fils-Aime on this podcast together after being major competitors in terms of business. In real life though, they seem to really like each other, and it just goes to show you the difference of fans arguing online versus business behind the scenes. Overall though, the entire podcast really was focused on some of the struggles and workarounds of working from home being in game development. And yeah, it was a fascinating podcast that you should definitely go listen to for yourself. Phil Spencer is always incredibly insightful and fun to listen to, and while there was no major announcements here, two things he did say really stood out to me. Near the end of the podcast, he was asked two contrasting questions that I really think speaks volumes for the bright future of Xbox. He was asked what his most proud achievements has been working with Microsoft, and instead of just talking about the past, Phil Spencer instead said that the Xbox Series X launch will be his most proud achievement. He did note that that may sound a little cheesy for saying that, but he truly sounded genuine here, and once again, it shows you what kind of confidence he has with the Xbox Series X. Though that answer alone only speaks to a part of why I think Phil Spencer said that, because if you pair it with his next answer, it really starts to make sense. So right after that, they asked Phil what has been the biggest challenge for him since working at Microsoft, and right away, Phil Spencer said that his biggest challenge was when he took over the job as head of Xbox. He said that the team's emotions were just at an all-time low, and Team Xbox really seemed to have lost all confidence with the leadership inside of Xbox, as they were struggling a lot with Xbox One, and the decision-making was not great at that time, and some members of the team would have tears in their eyes, wondering if they are doing things wrong. He said that the team just didn't believe that Microsoft was committed to Xbox at the time, and that is what Phil said was the biggest challenge: patience and getting the team to believe in Xbox once again. And that right there is the common theme with both of his answers. When asked about what his most proud achievement was, he specifically mentioned how proud of the team he was with the Xbox Series X launch, and he seems full of confidence here, compared to when he first became the head of Xbox, where the team was at an all-time low. And as for you Xbox fans, this right here is why you need to be excited for the Series X. The Xbox One has been picked on over this generation, and Xbox One has struggled, but here's the thing many people do not pay attention to. The moment Phil Spencer got the Microsoft CEO Nadia Sadella on board for the Xbox brand was the moment Xbox made a drastic shift. I believe that was late 2017 when that happened, and from that point forward, Xbox has acquired and built 9 new studios, invested heavily into Xbox Game Pass, and also managed to build the most powerful console on the market. So yes, while Xbox One may have struggled, they were also working with a lower budget at that time. But as soon as the budget increased, and with Phil Spencer's decision making and improving the morality of his team, Xbox looks to be big next generation. There are still people out there that criticize Xbox's first-party content, but we haven't even scratched the surface of the upcoming exclusive games for the Series X. Games are not developed in a year's time, so those acquisitions pay off over time, and once these new studios start to release their new games for the Series X, I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. Many of these studios have a lot of potential, and with Xbox's budget, they may fully reach that potential once they start releasing their new games since being acquired. And for that, we have Phil Spencer to thank. He has done a phenomenal job, and when you hear him speak about the challenges that they have went through in the past, it all makes sense why he was the man chosen for this job. And it's also the reason that you Xbox fans should be excited for next generation. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Peace out.